This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
Welcome into another Three Mall Pod. We're joined by Cooper Beebe, All-American offensive lineman for Kansas State. Cooper, how's the day gone so far for you?
It's been good. It's definitely been long. It's kind of winding down here to the end, but no, it's definitely been a good time. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience for sure, and I'm glad to be here.
Who picked out the tie? I like the tie.
It's funny. So my girlfriend and my mom actually, picked out the fit because I've only this is my second time ever wearing a suit in my life. So I wanted to make sure I looked good, dressed to impress. So, over 4th of July, I went back home. We kind of had a little fashion show looking thing to make sure, I looked good. And, they came up with this, and I've had a lot of compliments on it. So shout out to them.
Dad didn't get any say?
No.
Let's go into your decision to return to Kansas State, year 5 in the program right now. You could have been a first or second round draft pick this last year, but you chose to return to K-State for 2023. What went into the thought process behind that?
Obviously, like I've said before, my brother being a freshman, I kind of wanted to take him under my wing. And, as an older brother, you always want your younger brother to exceed more than you. So if I can set him up for success, give him everything I've learned over the past 4 to 5 years, that would feel good to me. And then second, I'm trying to put my name in the K-State Ring of Honor. There's no offensive lineman in there, and, I think with another great year, I can, hopefully put my name in that status.
I certainly think that's a legitimate shot for you. I think you got that. How's Camden doing, by the way? Camden Beebe, brother of Cooper. How's he doing so far?
He's doing good. He got a nice wake-up call to college football when he first started. No matter how much you tell somebody, you warn somebody about college football, you don't really understand it until it happens. Same thing happened, with my older brother. He's trying to tell me, you got to be ready for it. And I wasn't ready for it and had a rude awakening, and he got the kind of the same rude awakening, but, he's doing well now. So,
what was your kind of welcome to college football moment? Maybe not in the off season where you're kind of learning how hard you have to work and dedicate yourself to the sport, but maybe like in a game and someone just hit you really hard and open your eyes?
I think, honestly, my welcome to college football was my first fall camp scout team. Going against Wyatt Hubert, I go out to block him, and he just completely blows me up. Like, I'm on my back, and I'm like, wow, this is the real deal ball. So I think that was my, welcome to college football moment.
Is there a big hit that you remember in practice and throughout your career right now that just instantly comes to your mind as being like one of the biggest ones you've ever seen?
Oh, wow.
It might be Daniel Green, right?
I was going to say he's definitely at the top. I've had some good collisions with Daniel, when I'm pulling around, and he's not a guy you ideally want to meet in the hole. He's a big physical guy, so we've definitely had some good head-on collisions.
Entire offensive line back, Cooper, how good can this group be? What's the significance? And including Taylor Portier, who obviously is also back from injury.
I think we can be even better than we were last year. Just with the experience and the understanding of the game, I think, it allows Coach Klein to elevate the offense even further. And I know I talked about in the interview, but just having that experience allows, we were pretty vanilla last year, just what we could handle. And now with all that experience, they got some years under their belts, we can open up the offense a lot more.
Yeah, how do you expect the offense to change this year? I read the comment from you, they're pretty vanilla. What do you expect to be different from the offense in year 2 of the Colin Klein era?
I just think there's a lot more to it. I would say, a lot of shifts, a lot of different formations that maybe we weren't ready for necessarily, and different styles of play. At the end of the day, you're going to have your base stuff, it's going to be the same, but I think the way it looks may be a little bit different and may trick some defenses.
Is Taylor Portier going to be one of the comeback players of the year? Has he got that in him?
Oh, absolutely. I think for him, it's just getting that confidence back. Obviously coming back from injury, getting injured again, it really affects you mentally. But he's a tremendous player. He's been killing it in the offseason, so I definitely think that's a possibility.
Was there an offensive lineman or two that didn't start last year, and you're like, okay, they might be there this year?
A couple guys that come to mind. Carver's one of them. Andrew Lyingang's one of them. John Pastore's one of them. Even Trick Beckwith. There's a lot of guys that, could potentially, see some time this year. And I know once the more they get experience, I know they're going to try, get some of the guys breaks, just to help our offense, continue throughout the season. But some of those young guys, I definitely think, we'll see some time this year.
Deuce Vaughn, obviously All-American, he's now gone. Does the way you guys block change any differently with Deuce gone? Different backfield, right? DJ Giddens, a little bit maybe more power. Trayshawn, a little bit of explosiveness. What have you seen from those guys, and does that change the way that you guys run your system up front?
I don't think it really changes much. We definitely hit a home run with Trayshawn. Just seeing him in the spring, it gets you so excited. Just the way he moves. You see a lot of Deuce Vaughn in him, which is fun to see. But I don't think you block it any differently. I think especially with like DJ, I think you just got to watch your pack a little bit and hope the hole's a little bit bigger, because he ain't afraid to run right into you if he sees even the sliver of holes.
Will Howard, obviously back for year 4. Just how proud of you are, Will, for everything that he endured. You guys have been together for a long time now. He had got thrown into the fire in 2020. There was criticism. It was difficult on him. He's talked about it on our show before, but he stuck around and now has become one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback in the league.
Yeah, I have so much respect for him. Like you said, he was thrown in a tough position, as a true freshman to get thrown in like that, you can prepare for it all you want, but, until you get those reps in college football, it's hard, especially at the quarterback position where you're controlling the offense. But, I'm so proud of him. And, just seeing, I think one of the huge moments for him was the Oklahoma State game. I know we talked about it on the plane right here, just carrying him off the field after that game he had. I think it gave him that all-time confidence. And then, the confidence moving forward, especially into this year, that he knows that he can compete with the best of them in the country.
He's probably not a freshman. It's been more height, even though he's not going to start since you've been here, since then Avery Johnson. And he just kind of came in with the clout that not a lot of Kansas State players have had. Has the performance and the way he approaches his work, has it matched the hype this far?
Oh, absolutely. He's going to be a tremendous quarterback in the future. I mean, he can do it all. He's been putting on a lot of muscle. Like, he looks a lot bigger than when he first got here, and he has such a great attitude. He's willing to work. He's willing to learn, and K-State fans should definitely be excited. After Will's gone.
Is that the way a true freshman kind of gets respect from an older player like you, the fact that they come in right away and you can instantly tell a transformation in their body?
Yeah, I think, in order to earn our respect, I think, you just got to do the right thing, and you got to be willing to work. A lot of the freshmen, come in, some of the stuff they struggle with, but if we see them, they're fighting through it, they're giving everything they got, that earns instant respect. It doesn't matter if you play or not. If you're willing to work, willing to put in the time to get better, I mean, that's how you earn the respect from the old guys.
One of the guys we've heard a ton of buzz about today, that name has popped repeatedly, is Uso at the nose tackle position. You're going up probably against him a little bit in practice as well. What have you seen from Uso? Obviously replacing Eli Huggins is a big piece for that defense, but what have you seen from him and maybe the defensive line overall?
It's not fair a dude that size can move that well. I obviously it's hard to replace a veteran like Eli, but I think Us going to do a good job. He's a big, stout guy. He's hard to move, but he can also move side to side, run plays down. So he's just a complete package.
What's going to be the key as an offense this year to repeat in the Big 12 in your mind? I know there's probably a lot of components to that. It takes a lot of different things, but what's like one factor that kind of jumps out to you that's probably going to kind of dictate whether you guys are going to be in Arlington again or not?
I think one thing just from last year that we really need to work on is our red zone scoring. Yeah, we had whatever, but getting touchdowns instead of field goals. I know Coach Kleiman talks about it all the time. If you can score touchdowns over field goals when you get inside the red zone, you're going to win a lot of games. And, looking back on our stats, we felt like, every time we got in the red zone, we scored, but it was more threes than sevens or sixes. So just elevating our scoring in the red zone, I think, is a huge factor for us and a huge emphasis. I know it was in the spring and it will be in the fall.
If a true freshman has an impact on the Kansas State offense this year, it's who?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Gosh, that is a great question.
Or maybe even a newcomer, just somebody new. I mean, Trayshawn would be one.
Is, when we asked about freshmen, Will mentioned Trace Bike.
Yes, he's been a guy I've been honestly real impressed with. Just like I said, just watching. It's fun to watch these young guys work. You see him, he's busting his butt. You know, he's winning all sorts of reps against the older guys. It's just impressive to watch. I'll give you a young guy that I think that on the defensive side of the ball that I think will see some time this year. That'll actually have a pretty good impact, and that's Cheaty. You know, even just going against him in the spring, like he's a big guy, moves really well, has a great work ethic, and I don't see why he's not getting playing time in the fall.
You guys obviously won the Big 12 championship, and now you're kind of the hunted this year, right? I mean, the preseason Big 12 poll comes out. You guys are number 2 in it behind Texas. It's the highest projection poll in like nearly 20 years for K-State football, and where they're at the standings. How do you avoid the complacency or relying on last year's successes and just making sure the guys know this is a new year, a new team, and putting your best foot forward to get back here in this stadium in December?
I think just understanding, that we got to change our mindset. Everybody is gunning for us. Every time we meet an opponent, they're going to give us their best shot. That just, tells us, day in, day out, we got to continue to elevate our game, give it everything we got every day in order to be back in the stadium.
Who's the toughest player you've ever went up against in college football blocking?
Oh. There's a lot of them. Honestly, I'd probably go against my teammate Felix.
All right.
I think he's one of the best players that I've gone against, and I am so fortunate. I tell people a lot. I think he's a lot of the reason I'm the player I am. When you go against a dude of that caliber day in, day out, it makes you better. So I contribute a lot of that to Felix.
Did you get NFL draft feedback this last offseason? Did you put your name in for any sort of feedback or anything you get?
I hear stuff here and there. Coach Riley tells me some stuff. Coach Kleiman tells me some stuff. But, I don't really try to get into that too much. I'm kind of just focused on the here and now. And now I'm focused on have another great season and let the kind of puzzle pieces fall into place after.
You're obviously incredibly versatile. What are some of the challenges of moving from the interior of the offensive line to swinging out to offensive tackle like you've had to do throughout your career?
It's just a different play style, and you're inside. You got the bigger dudes. They're a lot harder to move in the run game, but a little bit easier to block in the pass game. And then you go on the outside, it's a little bit different. They're a lot harder to block in the pass game, a little bit easier to block in the run game, and just the timing of everything. Inside, dudes are on you like that. You got to be prepared. Where you're out of tackle, you're pass blocking. You got more time than you think. I think that's one of the hardest transitions.
Did you know that? Because I've seen this advanced stat out there that you haven't allowed a sack in 2 years.
I did not know that, actually.
It's all over the media guides, Cooper. 803 consecutive snaps. You got to go back to Iowa State in 2020 when you gave up a sack. Do you remember that sack that you gave up? No.
Was it Will McDonald?
Probably.
You were playing tackle.
Yeah. The only sacks I remember was friggin' Arkansas State when I gave up 2. That was a tough day for me. A little intro into college football, my first start. But no, I don't. I try not to think about that. I just try to keep Will clean.
We saw in KState basketball they had their song that they played, before games in the locker room that kind of went viral. What do you listen to before a game that kind of gets you going?
I'm more of a rock and roll type of guy. I like AC/DC, Kiss, songs like that kind of get me going. That's probably what gets me hype.
Okay.
I was going to ask just one more quick thing, Cooper. I think that video after the Big 12 championship, it was like a 4-minute video highlighting that, and there was the Iowa State scene in Ames in 2020 when Coach Kleiman really kind of pinpointed as the culture-changing moment. What do you recall from? Were you there for that? I think you were, because that was the game you did give up a sack. What do you recall from that moment, and then just the culture change that you saw this program go through over the last couple of years?
Like you said, it was a tough day, but I think it's just after that moment, dudes really came together, and you said we need to put ourselves back on track. This when players I think really started to buy into what Coach Kleiman was preaching, And, I think ever since then, we've continued to be on the rise.
All right. Well, hey, Cooper, we'll let you go because now we know you got to go put the pads on. I know you mentioned not your most favorite part of media day. Now you got to get geared up for some pictures, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's not my favorite thing to do. Especially for a big guy, taking off pads is never fun. And, I'm usually not a guy that ever gets the pictures. Usually they're taking pictures of the quarterback, dude scoring touchdowns. So, I'm kind of under the radar. But now I guess I'll be on the big stage. So just hopefully I look good.
All right. Well, thank you, Cooper. Kansas State offensive lineman Cooper Beebe on the 3 Mile Pod. Thank you so much, Cooper.
Yeah, thanks for having me.